One thing that we're doing is we're just brewing beer that we like to brew. There's no roadmap or agenda.
Hey everybody, it's Greg here from the Craft Beer Republic. We are out doing a field trip today. Very excited to finally sit down and talk with not only Ryan Ahrens of Malibu Brewing Company, but also head brewer. Is that the right title? Head brewer? Brewmaster?
Brewmaster.
Yeah. That always sounds more official. Brewmaster Chas Cloud. First of all, before we get into it, congrats on the GABF hardware.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're very excited about having a medal this early on into our journey as a brewery. So.
Yeah, that was pleasant. I don't say surprising, not because your beer's not good, but surprising that it happened so quickly.
We didn't even send a contingency to Denver this year because we didn't expect that to happen. So we were notified via text message from somebody that was there. I was like, congratulations. Like what? For what? Exactly. My reply was question mark, and then, we immediately fired up the computer and got to viewing it online. So.
That is so cool. So that was a bronze for Happy Days.
Correct.
So congrats on that. Congrats on getting the tap room open, which I know was a little bit of a feat.
Thank you so much. Really glad to have the doors open.
Yeah. I mean, that, if I can just indulge for a second, we were invited to the soft opening. We had no idea what to expect. And besides the beer being good, which we had tried once or twice. I know we met you at a festival. And
correct.
Liked everything we had. We didn't know what we were walking into. And then we get there and like, holy shit, not only is the beer good, but like the food is chef's kiss amazing.
That's awesome.
My wife, who's sitting over at the other end of the table, still tells people about the shishito peppers. She won't stop. She was talking about them yesterday. They're amazing. So congrats on getting all that going, getting the hardware, getting the tap room. Like I said, the food is killer and the beer is delicious. How's it been at this point as we're recording? It's been about 2 months since you opened.
Yeah, just shy of 2 months.
How's that 2 months been?
Great.
Has it been crazy? Has it?
Yeah, it's been well received by the community, which has been everything we could hope for. It's starting a restaurant is a new territory for my wife and I, and so we put a lot of time and effort trying to make sure that we really bring something that people get excited about, and to us that means good beer and good food and in a great space to enjoy, and so I think so far so good with trying to hit those marks, but it's also we're dealing with figuring things out, figuring out what works and what doesn't, and trying to make sure that the customer that shows up never sees behind that curtain that what isn't working and what does work. So
thought process.
Yeah, exactly. But but we have a great team, and a great chef and a great brewmaster. Mm-hmm. So far, everybody seems to be really enjoying themselves.
Well, and you've done a great job hiring people. It seems like everybody who's in charge of their area, whether it's brewmaster or chef or front of house, like they're all on it. Like they're all really good. Like customer service was awesome.
Oh, great.
Food was awesome. Like it was not your typical brewery experience where you go up to the bar, you order your beer, you go sit down, you don't hear from anybody ever again until you go up and get another beer. It wasn't like that at all. It was a really nice experience, lack of a better term.
Cool. Well, that's the whole basis for exactly what we're doing. I like to go to breweries, and I think we modeled this after the experience that we want to have at a brewery is kind of having your hand held a little bit and have a good learning experience about craft beer, try some things you may not normally try. And then we have a lot of people in our community that are just not craft beer fans yet. And it's kind of how I look at it. And so if we can get them in the door and have them try something new, then you can convert some people. And so that's the goal. Come away with a little more beer knowledge.
And you're the first tap room in Malibu, right?
Correct.
So it's a blank slate for you guys.
That's right. We got our work cut out for us to convert all those folks.
Probably a lot of wine drinkers down there.
A lot of wine drinkers. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Come on over, drink some good beer. All right. With that out of the way, let's bring it back to the beginning for both of you guys, all the way back to your history as a beer drinker. It's like the most important thing. Chas, kick us off. Where did it all begin for you? What was your first beer? Are you drinking like PBR in college or?
I'd have to say the first beer I had was always drinking like the shorts of my dad's beers. He'd be like, "Oh, get me a beer," and hand me the empty, and
I'd
take it back.
This to the trash.
So I'd have to say Rolling Rock was probably that. He was a devout Rolling Rock drinker.
Likes that skunky beer.
Yeah, right. I grew up in Pennsylvania, so Rolling Rock was our local beer when I was growing up. But through college, I never really got into the light, cheap beer. I still remember going out and my friends would be buying their, 30 packs of whatever was cheap and available. And
Right.
I'd scrounge my money together to, get a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada or something. That Sierra Nevada, Anchor Steam were like the real kind of indulgent beers for me. That turned me on to craft beer.
That also probably made for a very interesting game of beer pong.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you don't play with that Bud Light or something, that'll get dicey real fast.
Yeah, I lost a lot.
Yeah. I bet. What about you? What kicked it off?
My first beer I remember was a Coors Banquet grabbed out of the ice chest at my high school graduation, and my family was there. So I remember that distinctly. I was a pretty good kid in high school and didn't drink, but I remember
At least that's what they think.
I think and we were home brewing then too, so we were not drinking packaged stuff, but that beer was terrible. But that was my first like real real beer that I remember like picking up, and then finding craft beer. Red Hook ESB was like my I guess I was like, wow, this package is cool. The beer tastes good. It's totally unlike anything I've had before. And so I remember that one being a distinct memory in early on when I was getting turned on to craft beer. But I drank a ton of Coors Light in college and that kind of stuff. Just and Miller Lite.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my next question it has sort of been half answered by both of you guys. It was going to be, what was your gateway into craft? It sounds like maybe Sierra Nevada was sort of your gateway in, and any other ones early on.
Sierra Nevada, Anchor Steam. I guess in Pennsylvania at the time, there was a brewery, Dock Street. They had an incredible double bock that was called Illuminator. That really was amazing. And I remember showing up to college, and I had a homebrew kit with me, thinking I was gonna, brew a homebrew in my dorm. That never happened. My sophomore year, I wound up homebrewing in my friend's basement. Right. We were really having a lot of fun.
Mr. Beer Kid, or just
it. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much like a Mr. Beer, just, some buckets, the old red butterfly capper. Making just terrible beer that I thought was awesome.
Some apple juice, a little bit of alcohol in it. Yeah, we've all had those. And anything else besides Red Hook for you that got you after all those college Coors?
No. Then I would just go after that. I would go shopping and I was just a pure consumer. I would shop by label and just go try stuff that I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I'm just going to grab this. It looks cool. Like I'm going to go drink it. And it was just not like light lagers anymore. And so just trying a bunch of stuff. I don't remember. That was just one that I remember that was like, oh wow, somebody can make really good craft beer. Yeah. It has flavor. Exactly. But yeah, after that, it was kind of like, I'm just going to go try a bunch of different things. So
you took the flex way of trying beers. Pretty cans.
Yeah. No, I'm a sucker for it for sure.
I like it. Well, speaking of all this beer, let's we have a nice looking flight laid out in front of us. Let's start with number one.
Sure.
What we got?
Yeah. Up first here we have our Canyon Rosé Lager. So it is pink. This is the base beer. This is a pretty straightforward rice lager, a la Rolling Rock. Mm-hmm. And we're adding some hibiscus at Whirlpool, and then we're aging it on cranberry, pureed cranberry. The hibiscus brings like a really subtle pink color to it, but the cranberry really amps up the red notes. I taste hibiscus. I get that really up front on the nose. The cranberry brings a little tartness, but it's just a clean, crushable beer.
Yeah, you don't necessarily taste cranberry, but you get the tartness from it, kind of that citric, I don't know, like in the back of your tongue. I don't know if that's a technical term or not, but
we buy it.
Yeah,
it is now.
It is now. Coined.
Yeah.
So has this touched like grapes at all, or
nope,
or wine barrels or anything wine related?
Nope, nothing wine like in here aside from, technically the fruit of the cranberry, but it's not that much. It's a couple 100 pounds that we're adding on a 15 barrel batch.
Okay.
Or not even a couple, less than 200. But anyway, it's pretty much just a light, crushable, crisp beer. This is your super crisp lager with a little something else going on, just to keep it interesting.
Yeah, super light. You definitely get that rice lager base. On the nose, it's real light on the nose too. Like a little bit of hibiscus coming through.
Call it our brunch beer.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a good taco beer.
Yeah, it pairs with so much stuff. And then when you and I know your listeners can't see it, but we're looking at it. It's a very rosé colored beer. So a lot of people see that at the tap room. They're like, what is that? What's that pink beer? Or we take it to a festival and
Let me have
people
that
are like,
wine you got over
yeah,
there.
it's not a rosé lager. Like that's that pink beer, but it's been a big hit for us, just because people are kind of intrigued by what it is. And it is that kind of that same, it gives us that opportunity to bridge that gap between wine drinkers and beer drinkers and say, this might be something you should try. And it already kind of sets them up to something that they're not.
Yeah.
They're anxious to drink.
Full disclosure, when you first had me try it at that festival,
right,
I was super afraid of it.
Really?
Because, a specific larger named brewery that was established in California had a rosé something.
Yes.
And I could not stand it. In fact, I don't think I know anybody that liked that beer. Looking for approval from the wife. Yeah. It tasted like all the horrible things about a rosé mixed with like light beer. It was so bad. You're like, here, try my rosé. I was like, okay, try not to make the bitter beer face in front of the guy who's pouring me a beer. Let's see if we can do this. No, it's really good. I would absolutely drink. I would order this, which is high praise for a rosé beer. So,
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good, really light. Great football beer. Drink it all day.
Totally.
And, not get too crazy. What's the
ABV is like
4.2?
Yeah, it's really
4.5, somewhere right.
Yeah.
very approachable, very all-day drink.
Let's look at the can.
Oh, yeah, it is right.
4.2.
There we go.
We could also know that information.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, this was a beer when full disclosure, I've only been with the brewery since June.
Mm-hmm.
When I started here, I thought kind of rosé beer, that seems kind of gimmicky. This is now like heavy rotation in my beer fridge.
Nice.
It's just a enjoyable beer.
Does a lot come from the brewer. If you like it, then
yeah,
it's good beer. If we go to some backgrounds, I did some light internet stalking on both of you. We'll start with Ryan. You can correct anything that I get wrong, but the internet's always right. So you're a graduate of the Naval Nuclear Power Program?
That's true.
So are you like a scientist?
No, I mean, I have been to. No, that sounds way cooler than it's actually very. I mean, it's an important job in the Navy. I spent some time in the Navy, and I'm super thankful for that opportunity. It helped me grow up quite a bit. And my job was actually to go to school and learn how to run reactors for the fleet, nuclear reactors on submarines and aircraft carriers. And so, so that's all. So it's a specific school for that. And so.
And did you turn that into a career at all?
I didn't. No, I spent some time in the Navy, graduated from that school, and then got out of the Navy because I had a medical condition that was a weird situation that they had never even encountered. Where we may want to edit this part out because it's like, this is going to be super boring, but I had my skull had already fused together when I was born. And so I had to have surgery to allow my head to grow. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I have a dent that is on the side of my head right here where your firefighting mask, I was going to go to the subfleet and my mask has to form a seal, and my mask could not form a seal right there. So basically, after all that training, you do your firefighting training to go to your assignment, and my mask would not form a seal. And so they said, that's
super dangerous.
Weird. And and we never anticipated this. And so it was one of those situations where they said, thank you for your service. And so I got my GI Bill, got out, and
wow. So now do they try to fit people with the mask first?
I would hope that they check that. And
seems like an easy test.
Exactly. Or put that at the front of training. And that was late 90s is when I was in. So, I'm sure they maybe learned a thing or two.
Hopefully so. Yeah. But still the nuclear power.
It was great. I knocked all my science credits out. No problem. So when I went back to college, I was already way ahead.
I think we're gonna have to make a Homer Simpson beer now.
I know. I agree. There's some crossover here that I think could get pretty interesting.
It would be good. Duff beer. And then you became a lawyer.
Correct.
And then I had real estate agent, but it was real estate brokering, right?
No, not even that. Just real estate development. You
have your pilot's license.
That's true.
And of course, you're a co-founder of a film company.
Right.
Anything else I'm missing?
And now a co-owner of a brewery.
Co-owner, founder of a brewery.
Which is the most exciting. Yeah.
Do you ever stop going to school and working?
I need to take a break. I don't sit still very well. And once I find something I'm interested in, I try to dive in for sure. It's been an interesting career. Yeah, I've done a lot of things for sure. And none of it has been by design or by plan. It's been like, let's go try this new thing. And so my wife and I, we met while we were in law school. And so we've been married 15 years this month.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
And
shout out to Jill, who's not here.
Yes. Hi, Jill. She's the brains behind the operation. We all know that. So
right.
she's amazing. When I got out of school, I practiced law for a bit, but she went and worked for a real estate development company. And that was kind of the start of that. And so we started doing that together. And
so how did that all lead into, I want to open a brewery? In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic. Well, that timing was definitely not planned. Long story short, we moved to out here to Malibu 6 years ago, and we got here and we were like, where is our brewery?
A little back. You came from Colorado.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Breweries everywhere.
Exactly. They were, and that was where I was really, I was home brewing, and you couldn't throw a rock and not find a great local brewery. So we got here and we're like, where's our brewery? And it was kind of one of those situations where I was like, okay, I'm a dog with a bone and I'm not going to let this go. We're going to finally bring Malibu a brewery. This project that we're talking about now, it started 6 years ago, and it just took us a very long time to find the space, come up with the plan of what we were going to do, build the brewery, build the tap room and restaurant out. And so it's been quite a long process.
But you weren't planning this like come 2020, it had been in the works.
No, it had definitely been in the works. And the tap room took 2 years to get done. And the brewery was a lot quicker. And then again, the timing was just terrible. We literally got the space right as the pandemic began for both locations. The brewery was a lot quicker to build. So we were able to start producing beer we've been making beer for over a year. At this point. And then the tap room, we finally got it open a couple months ago. And so it just was the timing of everything was kind of thrown up in the air. So not our timing of choosing, especially during the pandemic, but we're also glad that we're able to open now, kind of not, just on the other side of this, where we can give people the experience that we wanted them to have and come in and enjoy the space and kind of change a few things up with how we operate. Like every other brewery is having to adjust now. And we just have the benefit of kind of adjusting now later in the process.
Well, and you guys have been selling cans out of the production facility for like a year now, right?
Yeah, we've been making beer here for a year, and then we decided to package during the pandemic just because we needed to put the beer somewhere. And so try to start getting it out the door, because the tap room, the idea was to have the tap room open at the same time that we'd be, making beer, and that just wasn't reality.
Yeah. Any previous brewery, restaurant, anything related experience?
None. So
right.
this is ground up, learning as we go, but really trying to assemble a team that has plenty of experience and who can take those ideas and take the dream that we all have and turn it into reality.
Mm-hmm. And how did Chas come into the picture?
Chas was somebody I met at his previous brewery, and we were on the hunt for our brewmaster, and I had Chas's beers at festivals and then actually met Chas before this was even an available opportunity for him, and was like, oh man, this guy makes good beer. And I remember drinking it and being like, oh wow, that's, I was just impressed, and then I got to chat with Chas, and I was like, he's got this very cool scientific and scholarly approach to the beer making process that I really appreciated. But it seemed like he was one of these guys that's kind of just on that pursuit of always improving and learning, especially in this craft. And so it was something that I remember. And then when the opportunity came up, just talking with Chas and being like, would you be interested in taking this leap and kind of moving forward with Malibu Brewing Company and
he said no.
Making some good beers and and here, I don't know what he thought, but that was my impression.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Before we do, let's talk about the second beer in our lineup here.
Sure. The second beer is our Happy Days Honey Blonde. This is our GABF bronze medal winning beer. Base beer is a American blonde ale, and we're adding purple sage honey right to the whirlpool, right at the end of the boil. We're trying to preserve as much of the aromatics as possible.
Okay.
From that. I get a little bit of the honey on the nose.
A little sweetness on the nose.
Little sweetness, yeah, but it's a dry beer. It's about 5%. So yeah, it smells sweet. You taste the honey on the palate. There's a little kind of breadiness or graininess underlying that. And then it's just a clean blonde ale, really kind of crushable. Once again, it's a blonde, in the same vein as the Canyon, it's a blonde ale, but it has a little something else going on. And yeah, really, really enjoying how this beer drinks.
Yeah, very easy to drink. And the honey is not by any means overpowering. Real light, just adds a little something in there. Does the honey add any extra ABV to it?
It's calculated. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
We're withholding grain to hit that 5%. This would be like a 4.5% beer without the honey. So it does. Yeah, it contributes a little bit, but it nothing too crazy.
Yeah. No, it's very good. Very just like the last one, like you said, easy to drink. You could drink it all day. Pairs with lots of things, I would imagine, spicy foods and all that kind of good.
A lot of our offerings, I think, stem from us being a brew pub. We want to make beer that goes well with food. We want people to come in and have a couple beers and be able to try couple different beers and have those pair with their meals. Where you have come in and have a double IPA, which we'll have at the end. You have one of those and it's nap time.
Right. Exactly. Well, you want the food to drive alcohol sales and the beer to drive food sales. If they can work in unison together, that's a good day at the tap room.
And we don't want to deal with inebriated people.
Right. Yeah. Kicking people out, and it's not that sort of establishment. This conference room may become that sort of establishment. We'll get there.
We're getting there. We're working on it.
We're working our way there. All right. So I stalked Chas as well. So let's talk a little bit your background. There was less about you. There's tons about Ryan on the internet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I gotta Google myself.
Yeah. You may or may not want to do that.
Yeah.
So you started at BJ's in Oxnard, local here. And you worked for sort of a local celebrity, Dave, over from Ladyface.
Yeah.
That must have been quite the learning experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love Dave to this day. Dave is the guy who got my foot in the door for professional brewing. I had been home brewing for, feeling old now. I started home brewing when I was like 18 and, dabbling in it, really not, and it was all for personal consumption. I wasn't a competition home brewer or anything like that. Just having fun with it. Had friends that I brewed with that, we were talking about opening a brewery. That was always the dream. It was like, oh, my buddy and I could open this brewery together and have fun. And we were having planning meetings to do that. And then I got a job at BJ's and I'm like, well, I got a job. Sorry. And what's really kind of crazy about that is my buddy who I homebrewed with now owns a brewery outside DC.
Oh,
so if you're out that way, check out Beltway Brewing.
okay.
But yeah, Dave, took a chance on me. I was, this totally uneducated home brewer, and Dave's like, he's like, I'm going to hire you. You've got a professional background. I had worked for a real estate developer for about 5 years before that, right out of college. So Dave brought me on, and he's like, yeah, it's going to be a couple months until you get on the brew deck. And the end of my first week, I was brewing my first batch of BJ's Blonde, nice. heavily supervised.
Right.
But it was really cool that, at a totally new career path to be turning valves and making beer day one.
And for those that aren't from the area, Ladyface is kind of one of the first ones out here. Dave is sort of a mad scientist. I mean, he was doing stuff that people hadn't heard of with beer before. Now it's like, oh, not a big deal. But if you go back to when Ladyface was sort of the only party in town, like he was doing some really crazy stuff over there. So and really good stuff.
One of the few places you could find cask ale. Yeah. He had a sour program. It was,
Yeah, it was kind of the only place you get sour anywhere nearby. It was pre-Casa Agria and all that good stuff. All right, so from BJ's, you went to Santa Barbara Brew Co.
Yep.
And then Surf Beer in Ventura. Yep. I miss Surf Beer. That's some good beers over there.
FYI, I'm not sure when this is airing. The 12th Bright Spark Brewing is opening in the old Surf spot.
Yeah, I was talking to Josh over at Bright Spark a couple weeks ago. Didn't realize that's where they were opening. And then I stalked them and I was like, oh, it's the old Surf. So that's cool. And then Rincon.
Yep.
And then now here, of course.
Yeah.
Did I miss any?
2 years of a stay-at-home dad between Surf and Rincon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of experience gained.
Yep.
Any formal brew training throughout that time?
No. When I worked for the real estate developer, I would go to lunch by myself and read books on making beer, opening a brewery, as just trying to gain as much information as I possibly could. I hate saying I'm self-taught because there's a lot of good mentors like Dave and other brewers that I'd pick their brains with and chat with. But yeah, no formal beer education.
Okay. And what's your scientific approach to beer that Ryan was talking about?
Yeah. I think I kind of view it as almost like an accounting exercise.
Okay.
There's a lot of data points that we follow in the brewing process of, water temperatures, mineral content, times, all this stuff, and trying to hit your numbers. And then you taste the beer at the end and what could be adjusted, where was time from your brew day left on the table, trying to be efficient about it. Yeah, there's always room for improvement. I know that a lot of the big beer brands that we all love are constantly evolving their beers. Sure. I'm sure Pliny the Elder is a different recipe than the Pliny we get today from iteration 1. I'm sure there's little tweaks along the way, water profiles,
little efficiency tweaks,
lot or crop year tweaks.
Yeah, if you can't get a certain hop, you got to do something.
Yeah, or if it's different from the year before.
Yeah,
you're always trying to evolve and keep on top of things and make it better. I think our customers also, their palates are evolving.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see too many of these like big 100 IBU double IPAs anymore. I think all these double IPAs or IPAs, the bitterness has been restrained a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not stripping the enamel off people's teeth anymore.
No,
it seems like, for the most part.
No, so I think there's always, I like I said, it's a numbers based, a data driven kind of brewing process.
Yeah, and it also seems like, talk about IBUs, they kind of don't matter anymore.
No,
like it used to mean something. It used to be like, oh, that's 100 IBUs, like that's gonna be bitter AF.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like what people are doing, it's like, oh, it might be.
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, 100's gonna be pretty bitter, but when you get to those like 50s, 60s, like that doesn't mean anything anymore. Which I think is nice in a way, because I used to look at a beer, look at the IBUs, like this means I'm gonna like it or not like it, and now it's like, oh, I gotta try it. So it's kind of cool. I would imagine that you inherited most of the recipes here when you started. Have you had a chance to develop any of your own ones yet?
Yeah, we've got our railroad rye or railway rye.
Yeah, railway rye.
That was a new one.
Love me some rye.
Yeah, we wanted a pale ale. We kind of had a opening in our menu for it. We didn't really have that kind of middleweight hoppy beer. We wanted something a little old school, so we did a nice rye pale ale. That was one that I did. Our Oktoberfest, kind of when I started here, it's like, wow, we need to start thinking about Oktoberfest.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Yeah, one of the really fun things that I enjoyed from day one of working here was Ryan ownership's desire to use the best ingredients we can get. So we use a lot of Admiral malt, which is a small malt house up in Alameda. They do really old world floor malted barley. Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal. So we've been playing around with a lot of different stuff like that. And getting to know their malts, like, oh, this would be, you have to brew a beer to try it out with. So kind of make something fun.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Admiral. I know the guys up at East Brother use Admiral exclusively, and they like it a lot too. Is there a certain style or focus that you have when it comes to making beer?
Not really. I could give you some stats that I like. I love I think a 5.5% ABV beer is like the sweet spot for flavor.
Okay.
You can make a really hoppy 5.5% beer. You can make a really malty 5.5% beer. You make a really lean, crisp 5.5% beer. You make a really heavy 5% beer.
Yeah.
If you work at it.
I like that.
That's where I like. But then certain styles, you want them stronger or weaker from there too.
Yeah, it'd be weird to have a 5.5% barley wine.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's called an ESB.
Yeah, that's true. It makes a lot of sense because you can really let the flavors of the beer, whether it's malt or hops or whatever, shine at 5.5%. Mm-hmm. You're not introducing any real alcohol flavors at that point. Mm-hmm. It's when you kind of get up to that 7 where you start tasting a little bit of alcohol, and it might play with the hops or play with whatever you got going on in there. So I never even thought of that before. I liked it a lot. And then what's been different about working? We talked about ingredients for one, but about working here than say any of your other previous.
I think you touched on it earlier. It's a great vibe. Ryan's brought on people that are good at what they do. Mm-hmm. He gives us enough leash to hang ourselves, right. And we can, everybody's dedicated to what they're trying to do. Carrie, who runs our tap room, is focused on that. Mm-hmm. She's not pushing me in any directions. I'm not pushing the tap room in any directions. And our chef, we work well together. And I think with an environment like that, where everybody has their lanes, that you, instead of trying to pull from those other departments, we all kind of help each other out. It's really everybody's got each other's back here, which is really, really pleasant.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's no, as the brewer, like you have to make some sort of weird social media decision.
Right. Exactly.
Because you shouldn't.
Well, you've obviously done some research on me online. You can see my online presence.
or lack thereof.
Or lack.
Yeah. Couple breweries or a couple of articles, but not a lot of socials.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want to move on to the next in this gorgeous lineup?
Let's keep drinking beer.
Yeah. Beers, that's what we're here for, right?
Yes,
so the next one we have is our Wild Grove Hazy IPA. I think you had this at the, you had mentioned it on the podcast at the soft opening.
May have taken a few cans of this.
Yeah, so it's a hazy IPA. This is at baseline a similar recipe that you had. We adjusted. We're using a different yeast than what you tried, so it produces a little more haze to the beer. And then we adjusted the dry hopping. This is like 2.5 times the dry hop that you had. So we just kind of upped it to get it into that hazy category.
Where I'm noticing the most is on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a lot of fun stuff in here. We're running some Sabro, so you get that kind of coconut note on this, Simcoe, and Amarillo,
everybody says.
Yeah, says it
Can't
differently.
get it. Is it Motueka?
Yeah, but yeah, so you get that kind of citrus and coconut play. We did change the yeast on this from the original batches where we're using a London 3, which is a fruitier yeast, so it's going to kick off a little more fruit, and it helps with the haze also.
Yeah. A little more in suspension.
Yeah, a lot of wheat, malted wheat and oats in the grain bill. Looking for that kind of soft mouthfeel. Personally, I don't like sweet beers, so I wanted to keep this one in that kind of drier finishing. I think a lot of the hazies have gotten into this kind of almost under attenuated flavor where they're sweet. Your lips are a little sticky afterwards.
Yeah,
I like a dry beer. Also like to keep the carbonation a little higher. I don't like flat beer.
Yeah,
it should be bubbly.
Yeah, have it leave the tongue a little quicker.
Yeah.
Is it a little lighter in the mouthfeel than it used to be? I mean, I haven't had it in like a month, so.
Yeah. I think it's right around the same. It might be a little bit lighter, but probably not too much.
I'll pretend I never said that.
It's okay.
And what's the ABV on this one?
We're right around 6.
All right. So right in that range of keeping it low. You can have a few and still drive home, which I appreciate. I hate going to breweries where everything's like 7 and above, and it's like, well, I've had one. Should I have a second one? I gotta drive. So,
well, I think especially with hazy IPAs, what we're trying to do is really let the hop shine on this,
as they should.
Yeah, if you're adding too much malt, like malt and hops are always this balancing act, and to get higher ABV, you need more malt, which then kind of masks your hops. And then you have to use more hops. Why not just make tone everything down?
Yeah.
And use a lot of hops and make a really hoppy beer.
Yeah. If there's no need for the malt, why put it in there?
Yeah.
And I mean, from Ryan's side of things, save you a few bucks too. So we kind of touched on it earlier, Ryan. You opened the production facility first. And that sort of was a product of the pandemic. Probably wasn't the original plan, right?
No, it was really just trying to get open when we could. It was kind of we had to find the space and really just take our time to figure out kind of what we're doing. And then we were really kind of thrust into we were at the mercy of the supply chain. And I shared with you earlier that we were very lucky that our tanks and brew house made it in before they got stuck offshore in the port of LA. Yeah, it was very close. And then we were, slightly delayed on our glycol fittings, and that kind of held us up a little bit. But the tap room and restaurant was just a product of things taking time in Malibu. And so, yeah, nothing's really gone to plan. So we've really had to be nimble and very flexible, but it's kind of all working out.
Yeah. So when did you finish your first batch of beer?
It was August of 2021.
Okay. Why the decision to have separate facilities?
Really, because in Malibu, we would never be able to get a brewery approved. Like we would never be able to brew where we are located. We're on a septic system. So there's a lot of complications with brewing on septic. And I didn't know how it would go. I didn't know if I just basically assumed the Coastal Commission would never allow us to make it happen. And
that makes sense.
I didn't want to roll the dice and extend the amount of time it takes to get this project off the ground already. Yeah. And so we're brewing in Westlake Village, which is so close to Malibu. It's a 20-minute hop over the hill, and so it's a lot easier for us to just have our own production facility that's dedicated solely to making beer and warehousing our beer, and then just take it over in kegs to our tap room.
Well, you got the world's coolest cold box.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
It's like the size of a football field.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. We've got a great setup. We've got room to grow, and it's a system that's working well for us so far. So,
and I imagine, Chas, it's probably nice for you not having to deal with all the other operations. You just brew beer and do that.
Pretty much. I miss having the kitchen, like to get lunch.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's also nice not having like the kitchen dishwashers tracking like greasy footprints through your brewery. Yeah.
Customers coming up like, can I have a tour? Like, I'm kind of in the middle of mashing it right now. You come back in half an hour. The spot in Malibu next to Vintage.
Next to Vintage, yeah.
Was that part of the plan? Did that just open up? Why that spot? It's a nice spot. You're like right across the street from the beach, and
yeah, that was the side of town that we want to be on. We live 5 minutes away from the tap room, and that part of Malibu is kind of where all the families are, and so that was important for us to be in kind of the west part of Malibu. We wanted to build that for the community. It's, there's always tourists in Malibu, but this is really something that we wanted to bring for our community to have a spot that we kind of lost during the Woolsey fire, a place for the community to get together. A lot of people are finally rebuilding their homes and getting back to Malibu. And it just felt like it was time to have a good casual spot that people can go enjoy some good beer and some food and get together. And there's not a lot of options in Malibu. There's not a lot of space to open a new spot. And so we got lucky to find a place that was a restaurant prior, and we gutted it and renovated it and turned it into the tap room and restaurant you see today.
What was the inspiration behind it?
Really, I wanted it to feel like, well, not just me, my wife and I wanted it to feel like it was almost like our living room. Like you're coming in and having a beer and it's comfortable and casual.
You have a nice living room.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks. I just want to share it with everybody. We wanted the furniture to be comfortable. We wanted it to be a spot where if you're going to sit and enjoy and have a couple of beers and not feel like you're on top of the table next to you, that's it. It's really we don't, like I said, I've not been in this industry, the restaurant industry for sure. And, new to beer making. And so really trying to have this idea and then really execute it and see if it's going to work. Purely making a space that's comfortable and enjoyable. That's been the inspiration.
Yeah. Was it a plan from the start to bring in like really good food, or did that just kind of happen?
It was not. The original idea was like, I just want a little tap room. I want to make some beer, and that's gonna be it. And then as we got into what it takes in Malibu to bring a concept like a brewery in, it's a lot easier and more palatable for the city to understand. They know what to do with a restaurant. They don't know what to do with a brewery. Yeah. So, but I think it's actually been a very lucky twist of fate, because it's allowed us to really showcase beer and food together. And I'm really glad we kind of were forced in that direction. Not forced in that direction, but I'm glad that's the direction that we've gone in, because I think it's working perfectly for the way we want to operate and the experience we want our guests to have with our beer and our food. And then we're lucky to find an amazing chef that knows how to pair beer and food together very well. And
where did you steal that guy from?
Oh my gosh. Well,
can we give it, what's your chef's name?
Chef Steven Stroh.
Okay.
He's got flavor dialed in. He has got a great palate. He knows how to, he's very creative. He's very resourceful. And he is also a beer fan, which is, very important. And so it's very important that for him to have a variety of beers to incorporate into our everything from the beer braised short ribs to our ice cream is actually made with our beer.
Oh, I had that.
Yeah. So and our sauces and everything, it goes into a lot of stuff that people may not know. So
yeah, well, great job stealing him. Chas, what's your favorite beer to make here?
That's a good one. I'd say the lager fermentation, so like the Canyon or Pacific, Pacific Gold, American lager, Big Rock lager. That it just, I really enjoy lager brewing. It's slow, it's dirty.
Yeah.
The brew day, the actual hot side, the cooking of everything, for the most part is the same from beer to beer.
Some take a little more hops than others, but yeah.
But the fermentation of lagers just really, really is fun for me. We taste the beer every day through the process, and tasting the lagers, like right after primary fermentation, a lager just tastes it's gross. It's sulfury. It's really like the first lager. I remember the first lager I brewed, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to dump this batch. This is horrible. I'm like, well, I'm gonna trust the process and just let it lager out, and it just gets better and better, and just tasting the beer improve while it ages out is really a lot of fun.
What's your most annoying beer that you have to make from like a process standpoint?
Oh, yeah, I want to hear this. Oh, seltzer. Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have a seltzer?
We do. We have a seltzer.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we would seltzer on.
It's just really good
because we have a market that
there
doesn't always love beer.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can make it here.
Well, and it's like printing money.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, the ingredients aren't expensive.
Yeah,
we do try to. Yeah,
they are hard to make.
Yeah,
it was challenging getting that.
Well,
getting
hard
that
to make
recipe.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean anybody can ferment some sugar water, but like the good ones
there's nothing to hide behind.
Yeah,
it's water and fermentation product, and it's tough. I don't consider myself an end user, so making something that I won't sit down and enjoy is
It's true. It'd be weird to have like a vegan chef and you tell him to make some hamburgers. Like, I don't know how these should taste, you know.
But we make our own flavoring. That's the other great part about having a chef.
You know, it's instant headache for me when I have one. And so we really wanted to, get back to use better ingredients. You know, it costs a little more, but it just to have a better drinking experience for those of us who like seltzers.
There's a large market.
There is a market out there apparently. And so we wanted to at least, do it our way and make a good one. And so I think we managed to do that. And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What hop are you currently crushing on right now?
I'm really excited. We've got a collab we're actually doing with Casa Agria.
Ooh.
And we're going to use a bunch of Nelson, which isn't really a new hop. It's fun. It's a hop I've used before. I'm really excited to get back to that. This double IPA we're about to try. Use some El Dorado in there, which is a fun one. And I've got some Idaho 7 playing in that too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just kind of everything new. I like the direction hops are going now, where it's not just like pine and dank. They're fruity and they're expressing these really kind of stone fruit flavors, which is.
Well, it seems like they're breeding them more for flavor now than for bitterness too.
Yeah.
All the new ones, especially coming out like New Zealand and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My next question, you already half answered, was going to be any fun collabs coming up, but Casa.
Yeah, Casa. Yeah. And
Can you talk about it? Or
we're gonna be brewing a West Coast Pilsner with them on the 17th. So that should be out. I'm guessing around the new year.
Okay.
A little bit after.
Awesome. Excited for that. Well, speaking of all the hops, let's talk about this double you just brought up.
Yeah. So work in progress. This is a little flat. Straightforward double IPA, little caramel malt. It's kind of an old school double IPA. It still has malt flavor to it. It's not totally lean. Little caramel malt, 2-row, some touch of Munich, and then hop wise, we got a lot here. Got some Zaka, El Dorado, Idaho 7. The Idaho 7 we're using cryo hops, which are fun.
Oh yeah.
Not a lot of plant material, and they're really potent aroma wise. This beer just got transferred in the bright tank on Friday, so not fully carved up yet. Should be there, and I think we're releasing this on the 11th.
Somewhere around then.
November. Yeah. So it's been in the bright for 2 days. There is a hint of carbonation. It's not totally flat.
Yeah, it's not completely.
It's very caramely in color. Sits on the tongue a little longer, I'm sure, because no real carbonation going on.
Yep. Yeah, a little more weight to it.
Yeah.
I mean, this beer is clocking in at like 9.5%. It's no slouch.
It doesn't drink like that.
No,
good job on hiding that alcohol. A lot of coconut. I'm getting a lot of coconut out of it. Is that the Idaho 7?
I think so. I haven't used Idaho 7 before.
Okay.
When I walked in here and was hired, we had a ton of hops that we were on contract for.
Oh.
And I think contracts were written before we really knew what we were going to be settling on, which was awesome. So I'm like, oh, we've got all these great aroma varieties. So just kind of playing around with stuff. I'd never used it before, and figured throw in a double IPA, right?
Might as well.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink worth of hops. Very nice. I can't wait till it's carbonated and drinking as it should. It's good start, a little sweet, a little coconut, and I'm sure the sweetness will lift a little bit as the carbonation builds up, but man, is that ABV hidden very well. That is tasty. You guys are in some pretty good company locally as far as breweries around here, especially where the production facility is. What sets you guys apart from everybody else that's making good beer?
Ooh, man. I don't know. I think I look around at all these breweries and they're making such good beer that it feels like the standard is there, and that we are just trying to keep up with that. It's awesome to be able to go, anywhere in any direction from here and have really good examples of styles that we love. I think one thing that we're doing is we're just brewing beer that we like to brew. There's no roadmap or agenda. It's literally us being like, what do we want to do next? And it's kind of been, but we're so new, that we're figuring out what people are responding to. And I love lagers, and I know Chas loves lagers. And so like, that's always going to be around, but we also do stouts and porters and barley wine and, now double IPA and
that Berliner.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that Berliner.
And a Berliner Weiss and stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't know if that sets us apart from other breweries, but we're just brewing what we want and hoping it resonates with other people. And, we're in really good company out here, like you said. And so, yeah, it's constantly we just hope to hold up our end of the bargain and continue to make this area known for good breweries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Ryan, sort of brewing background do you have?
Home brewer. I got interested in making beer. My first exposure to home brewing was in high school when my friends were like, we can't buy beer, let's make beer, and so I remember the 5 gallon
legally buy beer.
Right.
So
yeah. So we had friends with very cool parents that kind of looked the other way while we were making beer in the living room with the white 5 gallon bucket and the copper coil that we would make to chill. And that was my first time home brewing and kind of quick exposure to it. And then when I got out of school and was like, all right, I love craft beer now, I'm going to figure out, you can make this at home, you can get the stuff and do it. And it would just pique my interest to go and experiment and figure out how well I can make a beer. And so then I got into understanding, how hard it is to make good beer and had a really good appreciation for it. It was a hobby for me and would start bringing home pieces of equipment and shopping online for it. And then slowly building up my kit. And then I would make Krampus Kolsch is what I called it, and would give it away at the holidays and put it in a bottle, and people seem to kind of like it. And so it's kind of one of those things that just was like, oh, this is fun and people enjoy it. And then I always wanted to be participating some way with a brewery. And then, like I said, we moved and was like, where's our brewery? And it was kind of just that moment of like, here we go.
It's always equal parts fun and surprising when people like the beer you make at home.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's definitely like,
you do? You like this?
Yeah. Are you being honest? Yeah.
Just being nice?
Yes.
It's fine, but
Yeah.
No, it's very cool. Have you had any yet that have not sold well that you're like, well, we're just going to wipe that off the menu? It's kind of early, so I'd be surprised. But.
No, actually, that's the one thing. And if you ask me the other question of like what's selling the best, I couldn't tell you. It's all across the board, kind of very interestingly pretty balanced. You've got your crowd pleasers like our Honey Blonde Ale. That one is our number one seller.
I mean, everybody can drink it.
Everybody can drink it.
Yeah.
It's very approachable.
Is that the one that's in Dodger Stadium?
No, Pacific Gold, our American lager, is at Dodger Stadium.
Is it still in Dodger? Well, I mean, I know it's off season.
It's season's over, but I don't know. Maybe there's some cans lying around.
We had one of our listeners call in and say he was at Dodger Stadium and saw Malibu Brewing. And he was super stoked.
We were super stoked to have that opportunity to be there. So yeah, that's again, those the styles that we're going to continue to do we're just gonna have to see what, like, again, the lagers are going to do well because we're a beach location and people like a light beer, and but we also really are we've got a barrel aged winter ale that we're going to turn out here in December that has been aged on bourbon barrels for the past year.
I'm in.
Yeah, so Christmas in a can, but aged on bourbon barrels. So a lot of fun stuff happening in Berliner Weiss, and we've got a lot of fun ideas for beers that'll be coming out and
I mean, we
early next year.
When we had opened, we have our Hatch lager, which is our Sand and Sea Mexican lager, and we age it on Hatch chili peppers. And I remember making that, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to do. And then before I knew it, I'm like, we need another batch of this. Like, we're just getting empty kegs back, and most of our sales are through our tap room.
Right.
I even the ones that I expect to be a little slower, it's like, no, this is moving.
Yeah. That Hatch, it's a fun beer. I notoriously hate spicy beers, but that Hatch, I was like, it's not too spicy. You just get the flavor of it. It's not bad, which for me, I love spicy food, hate spicy beer. I think the first beer I ever drain poured was a habanero sculpin.
Oh,
I just couldn't do it. I was like, oh, this is off. But that Hatch beer is surprisingly drinkable and approachable. And it's not by any means like over spiced or anything like that. It's just
Thanks.
Just a nice little touch of Hatch in there.
That's been I think a taproom surprise for me, for sure, how popular that beer has been for us.
Yeah.
And that I see probably more crowlers and growlers of that go out the door. We don't package that beer. So, maybe that's one reason, but it's really, really been a crowd favorite. And
I imagine people get surprised, like, oh, this is not what I expected.
I think so.
I'll make all my friends drink it now.
Yeah.
See what they think.
Yeah. And it was a kind of a surprise here too. Cause like if it was actually my wife, I'm from New Mexico. So the Hatch green chili is it's like sacred in where I'm from. And so when my wife said, let's brew this Hatch chili beer, but let's not tell Ryan about it. And I come to the brewery and there's a question mark on one of the tap handles. And it's like, what's this? Pull it and immediately know I can sense the Hatch chili pepper. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Hatch chili beer. And so, and I'm glad it was a surprise because otherwise I'd have been like, oh no, that's gross. We're not going to brew Hatch chili beer because like who's going to drink that? And then, so I was pleasantly surprised, and I feel like our guests are pleasantly surprised as well too.
If Jill ever wants to make more Don't Tell Ryan beers, let me know. We'll come up with some.
Oh yeah, you should definitely
that'd be fun.
Talk to her behind the scenes.
We should just do like a quarterly Don't Tell Ryan beer.
Yeah, I'd love that idea. Like
have a tap handle that says Don't Tell Ryan.
Yeah, and it just is a surprise.
And have it in the tap room too. And people are like, can I get the Don't Tell Ryan beer?
I love it.
You hear it here first. Marketing genius.
Like, great idea.
The website has a lot of, not a lot, but it mentions a couple of times the fact that like the beers are all gluten reduced.
That's right.
What's the process of reducing gluten? What's the big deal behind that? Seems like Malibu's probably a good market for gluten reducing things.
Yeah, I'd say most of the beers are gluten reduced. Our hazies aren't.
Is that on purpose, or is that just a byproduct? Or
no, well, yes and no.
Okay.
It is on purpose.
Yeah,
but we use an enzyme that reduces the gluten. So there was gluten there before, and there's an enzyme that is chewed it up, so it's not technically full gluten anymore. What that enzyme was actually initially invented for is to remove what's called chill haze in beer, where you'll take beer and it'll be kind of cold and it's clear. You get it really cold down to like 33 degrees and it gets hazy. And that's usually a lot of gluten-derived proteins that are kind of showing themselves.
Okay.
So you add this enzyme and it breaks down those proteins, and then when the beer is cold, it's clear. It helps with filtration, helps just general beer presentation.
Probably helps keep the lines cleaner, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll shut up now.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
sure.
That sounds like marketing.
Like less gluten goes. Yeah, probably not.
Less gluten.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it helps. But then I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of what gluten does to them. If somebody that's full celiac or has like a complete gluten intolerance is still not going to be drinking our beer or shouldn't be.
Yeah. Sign this waiver.
People that are trying to just reduce or be conscious of their gluten intake can now have some beers and not have to worry as much.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a nice thing to know, I guess. And then finally, what's next for Malibu Brewing?
Always something new on the menu, for sure. I think we're just going to start doing beer dinners, like ticketed beer dinners, and letting Chef Steven really do his thing. So we're excited about doing some of those coming up.
All my money.
So that's exciting new stuff that we're looking forward to. Beer-wise, I think we shared a few things we've got coming out through the remainder of the year and into early next year. And otherwise, we're just going to enjoy the ride. We're still getting our feet underneath us with the tap room and restaurant, and then kind of figuring out, what beers we want to be making into next year. And so, we're kind of really enjoying the ride and working on a few things and continue to improve our core beer lineup and continuous improvement, I guess, is what's next.
Which is always good. I don't know if we're allowed to say it, but you guys have a barley wine coming out too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Excited for that.
Very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We wanted to do barley wine, didn't really have any yeast in the pipeline, so I was going to look towards dry yeast. So we brewed our barley wine with Kvike yeast, and it came out really nice. It's not funky or farmhousey at all. It's a really clean beer, and it fermented out to like 12% in about 4 days. It was so fast. Last week around here was a little chilly.
Yeah.
The tank was hot. It was like 90 degrees.
Jeez.
We'd sit there and just kind of give it a hug and get warmed up in the morning. Yeah, really looking forward to the barley wine. Other new beers coming out. I mean, we're a pub.
Right.
We have our 6 core beers that are available out in the marketplace. We have 20 taps, so that leaves us 14 beers to play around with and have fun. So
let's dedicate one to Don't Tell Ryan Tap.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Love it.
Let's not say we did.
Yeah.
Will you guys package the barley wine at all? Like bottle it or anything?
Question.
we're tossing around the idea. So I'm working on getting some spirit barrels. So I'd like to barrel age some of it.
Nice.
Definitely want to package that. Don't know if we're going to package any of the unbarrel aged. Maybe a draft only. I think barley wines are kind of a fun style because they age well.
Yeah.
So we might put a couple kegs on at the tap room for a brief period of time, and then we can cellar the rest and let them age out in the cold box and see how they taste in a couple months.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Give it a year. Give it a
Yeah.
couple of years. Save one. Last thing I like to wrap things up with is rapid fire questions. So first thing that comes to mind, don't think about it too long. We'll just for order's sake, I'll start with Chas. We'll go to Ryan. Same question for everyone.
I won't jump on your question.
First beer you ever drink?
First beer I ever drank. Shorts of Rolling Rock.
There we go.
Yeah.
Ryan.
I think it was Coors Banquet. I'll just
Classy.
call it, classy. Super classy.
First beer you ever brewed?
I love Coors Banquet.
Yeah, me too.
Professionally or homebrew?
Either.
Either.
The first one ever. So I guess homebrew at that
So
point.
first beer homebrew was a porter.
Okay. Have you home? We didn't even get
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I used to homebrew. So way back, IPA. This is just a lame answer, but it was an IPA.
All
It was
right.
the first beer I homebrewed.
We're going to get back to that in a second because I didn't even ask
Okay.
you if you brewed.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite style to brew?
Favorite style to brew? Hazy IPAs are kind of fun.
Mhm.
There's a lot of tricks to them. And then there's nothing like just insane dry hops. Dumping as many hops in there. And
Kitchen sink.
Yep.
Selfishly, I like other people to brew our Mexican style lager so I can drink it because I love that beer.
I have a very crappy version coming up soon.
All right.
I'll
I
save
can't
you
wait to
some.
try it.
Cans or bottles?
Depends on the beer. I think cans are great for everyday drinkers, but there's nothing like a properly presented Belgian bottle of beer.
I was say I want that barley wine in a bottle, not a can.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a lame answer again, but same deal. There's certain beers like I love a barrel aged stout in a bottle, and then I love the convenience of a 12-ounce can and to take with me. So
I feel
a
it.
little bit. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, the big sexy beers need a sexy bottle.
I totally.
Yeah. Favorite beer and food pairing?
I think it's kind of lame to talk about our food, but I think our mac and cheese and their Berliner Weiss
Ooh.
is like a really interesting combination. Just the acidity of the Berliner Weiss just resets your palate after every bite of the mac and cheese.
I like it.
First Point American IPA and our smash burger is like my favorite
Every night.
thing right now. Yeah. Not every night. I'm trying to maintain my physique here. Take it easy sometimes.
Sure. You can have one night
I'm
off.
jogging home. From here. Yeah.
Or is it yogging? It's Wednesday night. What are you drinking?
Middle of the week, probably low fills. Yeah. Whatever the short filled beers from the last week's canning run were.
All right.
Got a lot of those in my fridge.
It's Pacific Gold, our American lager. Yeah, that's always in my fridge. Or our San and Sea. I unashamed lager fan, and I love our lagers.
You
so.
should like your own beer.
I love our.
It's
own
not a
beer.
bad thing.
Love our beer.
Yeah. Be proud of your beer. It's fine. I promise. What's your beercation destination?
Bavaria. It's a big fight in our house. My wife and I have never been to Europe, and she wants to go to all the wine countries, and I'm like, well, we have to go to all the beer countries. So this is like a multiple month-long trip that it has to become then.
Sounds awful. Yeah.
Yeah, Germany for me for the same reasons. I've been lucky to meet some cool brewers from Germany who have had our beer that are like, oh, you guys are doing a cool job, and so it's just I want to go there and just see
the old world
style of how they're there's like 200-300-year-old breweries over there that like to go contrast that to what we're doing here. So
what's your favorite outside non-Malibu Brewing beer?
It depends on the setting. I am a big fan, so I may have missed out on my cheap beer roots in college, but I am developing a liking for cheap beer. And I actually really enjoy Coors Banquet.
There you go.
I think it's just, if I'm at the supermarket buying beer and want some kind of like fodder beer, can't go wrong.
All right.
In Colorado, I was a huge fan of Great Divide, just an awesome brewery. Yeah, I love the Yeti. I love Upslope made a great pale ale too. It's probably like one of the early, and it's a brewery up in Boulder, also from Colorado. And then I've got to say, Made West makes a great pale ale that I just love.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, I love that beer. So I gave you 3. So is that okay?
Yeah, I think we can take one of those.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm a beer fan. I like a lot.
Just wish you liked beer.
Yeah.
What's your favorite non-beer hobby?
Well, I've been into mountain biking lately, but hands down, my favorite activity to do is sailing.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez, if I can get, I like to run. For me, it's helpful to get like clear my mind a little bit and get a minute. So lately, only because like we've been so busy, like that's my guilty pleasure is to have a nice run.
Just get away from everybody. And
yeah, so exactly. I turn on your podcast and actually I run to that, and which I actually do. So I'm not making that up.
Do you notice you slowing down if you listen to us?
No, it's a great way. Actually, it takes my mind off of running. So maybe my pastime is listening to the Craft Beer Republic.
I love that. Okay,
while running,
we're gonna put that on loop. That's gonna be the entire episode. Chas, I think you really answered this already. But what's your favorite guilty pleasure beer?
So I'll answer with the other end of the spectrum that I probably should have said is like beer made by friends.
Okay.
So guilty pleasure beer, Coors Banquet. But I love it when, I've been in this industry for a minute now, and, I've made a lot of friends in the brewing industry. And it's really great when someone brings you a beer and like, hey, try it, check this out. And they're not necessarily looking for notes or anything. They're really proud of something.
Yeah.
And those are always the best beers.
Nice.
We don't make them, but I don't mind a fruited ale sometimes, if it's a well-made beer. I don't really buy it that often, but I also am like, this is not so bad. So I guess that's a guilty pleasure, but I also like my macros still. I like my Coors Banquet, nothing wrong with it.
I swear one of the most popular answers from brewers is usually either like PBR or Coors Banquet.
Yeah. No, and that's, it's tough to go away from it. So stick with what works.
Well, as there's a reason they've been around for so long.
I know.
Right. I mean, Budweiser's the biggest brewery in the world for some reason. We'll figure it out eventually. And then finally, what is your favorite word or slang for being drunk?
Yeah, shit-faced. That's
classic.
It's classic.
Yeah. Shithouse, hammered.
Yeah.
Wasted, plastered. Maybe I'm just going down to the thesaurus at this point, basically. So there's not one.
Ryan has a list in front of him.
Yeah.
Let me get my scroll out here.
That's kind of in the rotation. Yeah.
Yeah. All good ones. So the stats: 30745 Pacific Coast Highway, R4 in Malibu, California.
Right.
Is where where the tap room is.
Correct.
Go check them out. Go eat all the food at Brew Malibu on the socials. Brew Malibu. Wow. Double
Malibu.
Brewmalibu.com. Anything I'm missing?
Come visit us.
Yeah. And you can buy cans online at brewmalibu.com.
Yep. Check out our website.
Yeah. Most importantly, go eat the food with the beer. It's a nice setting. It's a nice experience. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks for your beers. Thanks for everything.
Glad to have you. Glad to finally be on your show.